In this episode, I find an egg, do an unboxing, watch a frisbee, see a toilet, make a bet with a professional disc golf player, kite a wing, check out a pool, hop a fence, and finally, search frantically in the middle of the night.
I just threw the tire out on the tractor. So now the tractor needs a new tire. It's been raining all morning long, and as soon as the rain lets up a little bit, well, the wind decides to pick up. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's entirely too windy to fly now. I think we should be thankful for the days that we do get to fly, especially in this part of the country. And we should be thankful for our blessings as a whole. Sometimes those blessings start as a complete disaster. Something that I learned fairly recently. Let me explain.
You see, recently I've had to move, and it wasn't a planned move. But I've noticed that even through this disaster of being forced to move, little blessings can occur.
Fresh egg from the chicken. I'm about to pick up something that I've been waiting for a while now. The county dropped off a brand new garbage bin today. I've been waiting for this because even though it seems like a small blessing, it's huge when your garbage starts piling up.
To give you some perspective, I actually need to go back a couple months, so let's roll the intro. During my last crash, I had broken the propeller, and the propeller went into the netting, and I soon found out you can't just go out and buy paramotor netting. You actually have to get it from your manufacturer, and I couldn't get it from the manufacturer, so I had to kind of make my own. I went online and I found the closest thing I could find, which was either baseball or golf ball netting, and I learned all about netting knots and did it myself. These are skills I wouldn't have normally learned because I'm not a big fan of fishing. From there, I was back to flying, but not before witnessing something that I found extremely scary. As you can see here, a paramotor is taking off and another guy is kiting his wing, and the guy taking off actually runs into the guy's kited wing. My reaction at the time kind of says it all.
That was almost disastrous.
Luckily, no one was hurt, and for me, it was back to flying. Making really sure the guys in front of me knew I was taking off and no one was kiting their wings, I was back up into the sky. Once up in the air, everything was wonderful again. Back and flying, everything was peaceful and bliss. I was having the time of my life. I had been trying out a new app and a new way to mount my iPad on my leg there so I could actually read it rather than using my phone. Later I found out this wasn't a great idea because it doesn't allow you to do weight shifting so well. But that's about the time when this happened.
This right here is not a sink that is draining, right? And it's not just a minor clog. When we turn on the garbage disposal, you'll see it go from one sink, and fill up the other. Turn it off and all that water will come back and go into this sink. It's going nowhere. And why is that? Well, if we look at the dishwasher, okay, oh God, that stinks.
So after finding out about the plumbing issues, I called a plumber, and then another one, and then another one. The fifth plumber finally found the problem, and the solution was this. Now what you're looking at here is the master bedroom floor, the master bathroom, leading all the way into the closet. The main drainage for the entire house, upstairs and downstairs, comes through this pipe, and it was actually put in backwards and wouldn't drain. This connects into the street in the city. You're actually seeing sewage come up through the sink there, and they actually removed the other sink. Now, this was really the last straw. At this point, I decided to leave this house and get another one.
But there was a problem. You see, if I was going to purchase a new property, I'd want to make sure that it had enough landing zones around, and optimally I'd want a place to where I could fly in and out of my own yard. Additionally, I wanted a shop, something big enough so I could spread out a wing and do some general maintenance or clean it possibly. I finally found the place I wanted, but unfortunately, the guy I bought it from couldn't move out for a whole month, which put me in a hotel for a whole month. So I decided to head down to Austin, Texas.
While in Austin, Texas, I decided to watch, of all things, a round of professional disc golf. Now, this sport follows basically the same rules of golf, minus the clubs and balls. Add in some discs like frisbees, remove the holes, add a basket, take out the slacks and polo shirts, and add a little hippie culture. After the tournament, I was invited to dinner with Emerson Keith, ranked 3rd in the world in disc golf. As a thank you, I presented him with a Gag the Dog hoodie. And then later, we had a quick interview.
Standing here with Emerson Keith, professional disc golf player. Good playing today, Emerson. Thank you. So, disc golf, it kind of follows the rules of normal golf, doesn't it?
Yes.
I mean, you use the same nomenclature. You have putting, you have fairway, you have drivers with your disc. What's the biggest difference?
I think the biggest difference is that I can throw my putter just as far as I could throw my fairway driver, so that's the equivalent to you hitting your putter as far as you hitting a 7-iron.
That's a huge difference.
Yes.
I noticed the big difference watching it was the amount of trees you had to navigate through.
Some courses provide the challenge of trees, and this was one of them.
Yeah, you make the game look very easy. You know, I fly a paramotor, and I think if you take out the trees, I could actually play this game.
I don't think so.
Now, it was about here, after bantering back and forth a little bit, that the interview took a very unexpected turn.
I could play paramotor disc golf.
I bet you $5 it'd be real hard.
I'll bet you $10 I can make, out of 10 shots, I can make 3 of them.
I bet you $100 you won't even hit the basket.
Here's the deal.
Now, I'm not going to tell you how this ended, but let's just say the bet became very interesting, and we'll save that for another video.
Bring it on.
All right. Okay. A couple weeks later, and the new house was ready to move into. Emerson was kind enough to leave me a disc so I could practice with, and so now I just needed to see if I could fly out of my new front yard.
Now, unfortunately, for the first few days, it was a bit too windy to fly. So I decided to do something I probably don't do enough of, and that is practice kiting. I like kiting on windier days because it does make it a little bit easier, and I get to dance with the wing. I get to try both forward and reverse, and it just makes life a little bit easier when it's windy, and you get a lot less tired because you're doing a lot less running. Now, the kite I'm using here is an older wing. It's more of a freestyle acro wing, and it's a bit, well, I don't know if I would trust it in the air yet, so I would like to get it inspected. So if you happen to know of a company in the United States that does a good job inspecting wings and letting me know if it was flight worthy or not, or if there was some repairs I needed to do on it, If you could, in the comments below, just let me know what company that is, and I'd be happy to get a hold of them. And I really appreciate any recommendations you could possibly give to me, because I really like this wing, but unfortunately I just can't trust it in the air yet. After a couple of days, the winds chilled out and it was time to fly for the very first time over the property. Now, unfortunately, the sun was pretty much in my face the whole time and the camera was angled wrong. So the footage isn't great, but it did give me an opportunity to see the acreage across the street, a couple thousand acres of potential landing zone if I needed it. And it gave me the first view to see if I could do what I wanted to, and that is take off and land from the front yard. This flight also gave me the unique opportunity to look at the backyard as well. Here, after the pond, which in Texas they call tanks for some reason, there's another 10 acres I can clear out, which is a bit wooded at the moment, but is free from any electric lines. Now, it would take some work, so that might be for a future landing zone. In the meantime, however, I could set up some disc golf baskets because I really need to practice in order to beat Emerson. And in order to fly out of the front yard, I needed to come up with a plan. So I call this the 30-step plan to flying out of the front yard. Flying out of the front yard is fairly easy. First step, open the shop. Second step, go to the truck and lay out the little table and grab the paramotor wing. Step 3 would be to grab the windsock, the homemade windsock. After the first video here, I still have yet to buy a proper windsock which would work well for paramotoring. So I'm using kind of a plastic bag here, but it works for now. Set up the homemade windsock and head back to the shop for step number 4. Step number 4 would be to drive the paramotor wing to the front yard. Once at the front yard, step number 5 would be to open up the sack and lay the paramotor wing out in the front yard. Now this takes a little bit of time because you actually have to take each of the wing tips and spread them out a bit. And then you have to make sure that the wing is actually heading exactly backwards into the wind, so which means kiting it up a little bit and then making sure it's laid out again. Step number 6 would be drive back to the shop, but it looks like I forgot that sack, so get back off, grab the sack, and now step number 6, drive back to the shop. Once we're back at the shop, we need to grab the other important item, which is step number 7, get the paramotor. So let's check to make sure we have enough gas, grab the paramotor, put it on our back, squeak by the truck, get onto the four-wheeler with the paramotor on our back, and step number 8 is drive the paramotor to the front yard. Once we're at the front yard, step number 9 is probably the longest step. This is where I do my pre-flight checklist, and here I'm a little paranoid, so I go through quite an extensive pre-flight checklist. I think it's a good idea to do this. I check to make sure that there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of the equipment, including the propeller, the engine, the paramotor frame itself, the netting. I like to make sure that nothing is going to rattle or that I'm going to be bothered by anything once I'm up in the air. So the pre-flight checklist for me takes a bit of time, but I think it's worth it because I'm still alive. So step number 10 is to put the paramotor on and to start it once it's on your back. Step number 11 is to secure all loose items. So here I forgot my phone in my pocket, so I'm actually taking my phone, and there's a little pocket to the side that I'm putting my phone in. And of course I don't need my glasses either, so I will go ahead and set those down here. Now I need to put out on the straps, make sure the straps are tight. Once they are, everything is secure. I'm ready for step number 12, which is warm up the engine. Bringing that throttle to full throttle, warming it up, making sure that it's ready to go. And then step number 13, which is attach the risers to the paramotor, making sure that everything is once again secure. Look back, make sure that nothing is behind me, I'm good to go. Which brings us to step 14, and that is to fly. You know, prior to this, I was packing up the paramotor on the back of the truck or the car and driving over an hour to find a place to fly out of. After that plumbing incident and being blessed with such a wonderful thing out of a complete disaster, I cannot say how thankful enough I am just to have grass in a front yard to where I can fly out of. And you know what? I'm okay with driving an hour, and sometimes I'm still going to have to do that in order to fly with others. But sometimes, just being able to fly alone is special in and of itself. After flying for about an hour, I came down to land, and I didn't want to land in the front yard, although it was the original plan. There were some gusts in the area, and I didn't want to risk hitting the electrical lines, so I decided to land at the field across the street. Now that I've landed, which was step number 15, I'm ready to pick back up the list. Step 16 is to pick up the wing. So I grab all the lines, heave that up onto the shoulder, and then step number 17 is make the long walk home. Making sure here that there are no cars that I'm going to get run over by. I stop at the front gate and put everything down because I don't actually know what the key code is to the gate, and I forgot a gate opener. So step number 18 is to hop the fence and head back to the front yard to get the four-wheeler. And right here, something very disastrous happens, and I don't know if you caught it, but we will return back to this frame because what just happened is very important. Step 19 is to take the four-wheeler back to the shop, and step 20 is to take the truck, get in the truck, and take the truck to the front gate. Once at the gate, we can open up the gate using the remote control, and step number 21 is to pack the wing. So we grabbed a little blue sack, we packed the wing. I later packed this up a little bit better. I just wanted to get it off the ground and into the truck. And after zipping up the lines here, step number 22 would be to stow the paramotor. Now I'm using this little thing on the back, this little carrier to stow the paramotor, and I have to strap the paramotor to the back here. And every time I do, I always think I really need to buy a welding machine and weld up something so it will actually just click into place and I don't actually have to do these straps every time. Until then, however, got to do that. Now, step number 23, drive back to the shop. Once at the shop, back in, and then step number 24 would be to return the wing and the paramotor to the shop. Again, having to deal with these straps, taking them off, and getting that paramotor off and back onto the table. Step 25 would be to close the shop. Step 26 would be drive back to the house, except that I forgot that little table. So I need to put that little table back away, step number 27, and then drive back to the house. Now I need to get the camera phone. So I need to walk over to the camera phone and take a quick selfie. Once I have the camera phone, I need to walk back to the house, and I forgot to pick up the windsock. So while I'm here, might as well check up on the chickens bedding. Fix that, and then now I need to pick up the windsock. And finally, step 30 is to stop and take a picture of the beautiful sunset. All in all, I cannot be thankful enough. Out of complete disaster came such a wonderful, wonderful blessing. I hope your disasters turn into blessings as well. And speaking of disasters, do you remember what happened on step 19? Let's go back there and see. The problem actually starts at step number 11. You see, I needed to secure all loose items and I didn't want to take my glasses, so what do? I set them down on the four-wheeler. Fast forward now to when I'm coming back to get the four-wheeler in step 19. As I come back, you can see right here, the glasses show in this frame exactly where I left them, and I'm so fortunate that I got this footage because it shows the relation of the four-wheeler to that little bush. That night I had gone back through the footage and found this frame and used that as a reference point in order to come back out here and start searching for the glasses, and what a blessing, I found them.